The polished marble floors of Innovate Corp's headquarters gleamed, reflecting Anna Vance's sharp, confident stride. Dressed in a designer's suit that practically screamed ambition, she moved down the hallway with the focus of a predator. Her phone was glued to her ear, her voice a low, cutting command that left zero room for argument. Anna was on the fast track, and anyone in her way was either a stepping stone or a speed bump. "Look, I don't care what it takes, just get it done," she snapped into the phone, her tone dripping with impatience. "I'm presenting to the board in 2 hours. My entire promotion to VP is riding on this. I don't have time for incompetence." She ended the call with a sharp tap and pushed open the heavy oak door to the executive washroom. The air inside smelled of lavender and disinfectant, a sterile calm that her presence and his immediately shattered. In the corner, a man in simple gray coveralls was quietly mopping the floor. He moved with a slow, steady rhythm, completely focused on his task. As she entered, he glanced up with a polite but weary look in his eyes. Anna let out a loud, theatrical sigh, a sound designed for maximum disdain. She looked from his worn-out boots to the bucket of murky water, then back to his face. He was older, maybe in his late 50s, with hands that knew hard work and a face lined with a quiet dignity, a dignity she was about to stomp all over. "Excuse me," she said, her voice sharp in the quiet room. "Some of us have actual work to do, important work. Can you move? You're in the way." The man stopped mopping and leaned on the handle. He looked at her, really looked at her, and something flickered in his eyes. It wasn't anger, it was more like disappointment. "Of course," he said, his voice calm and even. "My apologies." He started to wheel his bucket aside, but Anna wasn't done. She felt a rush of superiority, a need to draw a clear line between her world of executive ambition and his world of janitorial work. "You know," she went on, a condescending smirk on her lips as she checked her reflection in the mirror, "you should really try to be more aware of your surroundings. This is the executive floor. People here are making decisions that shape the future of this company. We can't be tripping over janitorial supplies." Without waiting for a response, she turned her back on him, sure that she had put the lowly janitor in his place. She was completely oblivious to the fact that she had just made the biggest mistake of her career, because the man she had just belittled wasn't just a janitor. He was Jonathan Harrison, the new and famously private CEO of Innovate Corp, and he had heard every single word. Anna Vance lived by a simple, brutal code. In the corporate jungle, you're either a shark or you're bait. And from her very first day as an analyst, Anna decided she was a shark. She devoured projects, outmaneuvered her rivals, and never, ever showed a hint of weakness. Her ambition was a force of nature, impressing some and intimidating everyone else. She didn't see success as a ladder to be climbed, but as a throne to be taken. Her glass-walled office overlooking the city was a shrine to her own success. Awards and accolades were arranged like trophies from her corporate conquests. Her next target, the Vice Presidency of Strategy. The presentation she was prepping today was the final test. It was a bold, aggressive plan to restructure the company, a plan that would definitely lead to redundancies, a corporate word for firing people, that she used without blinking. Earlier that morning, she'd put her philosophy on full display. Jessica, a bright but timid junior strategist on her team, had come to her with a concern. "Jessica," she began, nervously holding a tablet, "I've been running the numbers on the supply chain plan. The efficiency gains are there, but the models show we'd have to cut about 30% of our warehouse staff. Some of these people have been with the company for decades." Anna barely looked up. "Jessica, business isn't a charity, it's survival of the fittest. The company needs to be leaner. If some people can't keep up, that's not my problem. It's a footnote in our success story." "But what about our culture?" Jessica pushed back, her voice trembling a bit. "We say we're a people-first company." "People first is a marketing slogan, not a business model. The only people who matter are the ones driving profits. Don't forget that. Now finish the projections for my slides and leave the feelings out of it." Jessica retreated, defeated, leaving Anna alone in her quest for power. To Anna, empathy was a weakness. Kindness was a currency with no value. She believed this made her strong, invincible. What she didn't realize is that the strongest armor is often the most brittle. Meanwhile, Jonathan Harrison was doing his own analysis. After taking over as CEO a month ago, he'd been troubled by the cold, impersonal data he was seeing. Employee engagement was down. Turnover was at an all-time high in lower-paid departments. There was a huge gap between the company's stated values and its reality, so he decided to see it for himself. He didn't want some sanitized tour from his executives. He wanted the ground truth. He knew people show their true colors when they think no one of consequence is watching. So for the past week, he'd been showing up before dawn, dressed in the simple gray coveralls of the maintenance staff. He mopped floors, wiped down cafeteria tables, and changed light bulbs. He called it his cultural audit. And in that time, he discovered more than any report could ever tell him. He learned that the front desk security guard, Marcus, had a daughter who was a soccer star. He found out the coffee shop baristas were stressed because a new inventory system kept failing. He had a long chat with an elderly woman on the night cleaning crew who was worried about her husband's health and the rising cost of his medicine. He saw the quiet dignity and the silent struggles of the people who were the real foundation of his company. He also saw the casual disrespect. Executives striding past cleaning staff without a glance, as if they were invisible. Managers leaving messes in the break room, just assuming someone beneath them would clean it up. These weren't huge offenses. They were tiny cracks in the company's soul that added up to a massive, systemic problem. It was a culture that worshipped status and ignored humanity. His method was a simple social experiment. By dressing as a janitor, he was testing the company's character, and what he found troubled him deeply. The company was making money, yes, but it was morally bankrupt. It was a place where someone like Anna Vance could thrive, while someone like Jessica was made to feel that her compassion was a flaw. He knew this wasn't sustainable. A building with a crumbling foundation is doomed to fall, no matter how shiny it looks. His quiet observations weren't a game. They were a diagnosis, and his run-in with Anna in the bathroom had just confirmed his worst fears. The problem now had a name and a face. After her run-in at the restroom, Anna felt a jolt of empowerment. In her mind, the exchange had just confirmed her place in the universe. She was important, a rising star. He was a janitor. All was right with the world. She clicked back to her desk, the sound of her heels on the marble like a countdown to her victory. She saw her main rival for the VP spot, Mark, by the coffee machine. He gave her a smug look. "Nervous, Vance?" Anna laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Nervous is for people who aren't prepared. I'm about to give them the future of this company on a silver platter. You should be nervous about whether your LinkedIn profile is up to date." She didn't wait for his comeback, already running through the key points of her presentation in her head. She was so wrapped up in her own impending glory that she didn't notice the quiet whispers that followed her down the hall, or the way Jessica pointedly avoided looking at her, her face a mix of anxiety and pity. Meanwhile, in a small office near HR, Jonathan Harrison had traded his gray coveralls for a suit. He sat with Helen, the head of human resources, a cup of coffee in his hands. "This past week has been illuminating," Jonathan said, his voice thoughtful. "The disconnect is worse than I thought, Helen. We have our values, respect, integrity, community, plastered on the walls, but on the ground floor they're just empty words to a lot of our leaders." Helen sighed. "We see it in the exit interviews. The numbers have been telling us this for months. People don't leave companies. They leave managers. They leave toxic cultures." "It's more than toxic," Jonathan corrected gently. "It's a fundamental lack of dignity. People use mental shortcuts to categorize others. A uniform, a mop, it becomes a label that erases the person. They stop being a human and become an object." He leaned forward. "This morning, I was treated like an object, told to get out of the way, lectured about my station in life, and not by some random employee, but by the person we are about to consider for vice president, Anna Vance." Anna's eyes went wide. She knew Anna's reputation, brilliant, but a bulldozer when it came to people. "Oh no. Jonathan, I'm so sorry."
"Don't be sorry for me," he replied, a new steel in his voice. "Be sorry for the culture we've built, where that behavior is not just tolerated, but rewarded. Today's board meeting isn't just about a new product strategy, it's about a new people strategy, and Miss Vance is going to be the star of the show, whether she knows it or not." 2 hours later, the boardroom was buzzing with anticipation. The air was thick with the smell of expensive coffee and power. The executive board sat around a long mahogany table. At the head of the room, Anna Vance stood poised and ready, her presentation title glowing on the screen behind her. Innovate Corp, a paradigm shift for a new decade. She smiled, a practiced, confident look. "Good morning, everyone. What I'm about to share with you today isn't just a plan, it's a vision of a leaner, more dominant, more profitable Innovate Corp." She was on fire. Her voice was strong, her arguments sharp. The board members were hooked. She could almost feel the VP title settling onto her shoulders. She was just about to get to her key financial projections when the boardroom door opened one last time. The room went dead silent. Every head turned. A man walked in. He wore a perfectly tailored navy blue suit, his silver hair was neatly combed, and he carried himself with a calm, absolute authority. He moved with the exact same deliberate, unhurried grace she'd seen that morning. Anna's blood ran cold. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. Her mind scrambled, trying to make sense of the impossible. It couldn't be. It was him. The janitor. Her confident smile vanished, replaced by a mask of pure shock. Her mouth went dry. The entire presentation evaporated from her mind, replaced by the echo of her own cruel words. The man, Jonathan Harrison, nodded to the other board members. "My apologies for the delay," he said, his voice the same calm, even tone she remembered with sickening dread. He took his seat at the very head of the table, the seat reserved for the CEO. He looked directly at Anna. A long, agonizing moment passed. The other board members looked back and forth between them, confused but sensing the electric tension in the room. Finally, Jonathan Harrison folded his hands on the table. "Please, continue, Miss Vance," he said with a small, unreadable smile. "I'm very interested to hear your vision for the company's future." In that single crushing moment, Anna's world didn't just turn upside down, it shattered. The shark had just realized she was in a tank with a great white.
The boardroom, once her stage, was now her execution chamber. The air, once electric with her ambition, was now thick with her humiliation. Her armor of confidence had shattered, leaving her exposed and shaking. "Miss Vance?" Jonathan Harrison's voice was calm but firm, cutting through the silence. "Your presentation. We're waiting." Anna stared at him, her mind a swirling vortex of panic. The words on the screen blurred into nonsense. She opened her mouth, but only a dry croak came out. She gripped the lectern to keep her shaking hands from being seen. She stumbled through the rest of her presentation. Her once commanding voice was now a timid whisper. The bold strategies she'd been so proud of now sounded foolish, even to her. Every point about ruthless efficiency felt like a direct confession of her own character flaws. When she finally finished, a deeply awkward silence fell over the room. No one clapped. They all just looked at Jonathan Harrison, waiting for him to speak. He let the silence hang for a full minute, a masterclass in quiet power. Then he began. "Thank you, Miss Vance," he said, then turned to address the entire board. "For the past month, I've been conducting a review of this company, not from the top down, but from the ground up. I've been talking to the people who clean our floors, serve our coffee, and guard our doors, the people who are the lifeblood of this organization." He paused. "And what I've found is a company with a cultural sickness, a sickness of status. A place where a title is valued more than character, where we mistake arrogance for strength and kindness for weakness." His eyes swept the room. "Today, I was mistaken for a janitor.
an honest mistake. But what followed was an act of condescension, a lecture on my supposed life failures, a dismissal of my humanity, all because of the job I was thought to have. It's a textbook example of unconscious bias, a judgment made in a split second based on prejudice. He turned his gaze back to Anna, who looked like she might collapse. This interaction, he continued, his voice now sharp with disappointment, showed me just how deep this problem runs in our leadership. It revealed a mindset that some people are simply more important than others. A mindset, Miss Vance, that's baked into every slide of your strategy. A strategy that sees people as costs to be cut, not assets to be valued. He stood up and walked around the table until he was standing right in front of her. Therefore, the board will not be moving forward with your proposal, and you will not be receiving the promotion to vice president. Someone gasped. Anna squeezed her eyes shut, waiting for the inevitable words, "You're fired." But they never came. Instead, Jonathan said, his voice softening just a little, "You have a new assignment. You will head a new company-wide initiative called the Dignity at Work program. Your sole job will be to dismantle the toxic culture of status and disrespect that has grown within these walls." He gestured to the back of the room where Jessica, the junior strategist, had been quietly watching. "And you won't be doing it alone. You will report to Jessica. She showed the courage to question the human cost of a business decision. She demonstrated the values this company claims to have. She will be your partner in this." The humiliation was absolute. She wasn't being fired, she was being re-educated. She, the shark, was being forced to learn from the very person she saw as bait. It was a punishment far more profound than just losing her job. Your success will no longer be measured by profit margins. It will be measured by our employee engagement scores, by a reduction in turnover, by your ability to learn and teach one simple truth. A person's worth isn't determined by their title. True leadership isn't about climbing over others. It's about lifting everyone up with you. Weeks turned into months. The old Anna was gone. In her place was a quieter, more thoughtful woman. Her new office wasn't a glass-walled perch, but a small, functional space in the HR department. Her first meeting with Jessica was painfully awkward. "Jessica," Anna began, unable to look her in the eye. I apologize. I was wrong." Jessica just nodded. "I know," she said, not with spite, but with simple understanding. "So, what are we going to do about it?" Slowly, Anna began the real work. Instead of analyzing spreadsheets, she talked to people. She sat with the janitorial staff on their breaks, learning their names and their stories. She listened to the cafeteria workers. She shadowed the security guards. For the first time, she saw the company not as a machine, but as a living community of thousands of people. She learned about the janitor who was a gifted artist, the receptionist putting herself through night school. She discovered a world of humanity she had chosen to ignore. Her armor began to crack, and real empathy started to seep in. She and Jessica built a program with real teeth, mentorships pairing executives with frontline staff, anonymous reporting tools, and mandatory workshops on bias that used her own story, anonymously, as a case study. One evening, months later, Jonathan Harrison found her in the empty cafeteria, sharing a coffee with the head of the night shift cleaning crew. They were laughing. He watched them for a moment, unseen, a real smile on his face. He walked over to their table. "Maria, good to see you," he said warmly, then turned to Anna. "How's the work coming along?" Anna looked up, and for the first time, there was no fear in her eyes, just respect. "It's the hardest work I've ever done, and the most important." Jonathan nodded. "A company's foundation isn't its profit margin, it's its people, all of them. Respect isn't earned by a title, it's a basic human right. The moment we judge someone by their uniform instead of their character is the moment we fail." Anna Vance lost the promotion she thought she wanted, but she gained something far more valuable, her own humanity. She learned that the greatest paradigm shift isn't in a business plan, but in your own heart. So, what's the takeaway from Anna's very, very bad day? Her story is a powerful gut check that judging people by their job or their clothes is a huge mistake, not just in business, but in life. It's a reminder that every person we meet has a story, and every job, when done with dedication, has dignity. The real test of character is how we treat the people we think can do nothing for us. What did you think of Anna's story? Have you ever seen someone totally misjudged based on their appearance? Let us know in the comments below. And if this story made you think, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that make you feel something. Share this video with someone who might need to hear this message, because a little respect can make a world of difference.